Hey everyone, welcome into an at-home edition of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. I'm filming today's video from my parents' house. I'm home for the holidays, so apologies for the suboptimal lighting and audio and all that stuff. But I want to spend today's video all about the Falcons, pass rush just having a complete rejuvenation coming out of the bye. So with that, let's talk about how Atlanta has completely made a 180 on that side of the ball, and especially at the pass rush department, going into a huge game against the Commanders on Sunday Night Football, where Atlanta can be one step closer to clinching a division win and hosting a playoff game, since they control their own destiny. If Michael Penix goes 2-0 the next 2 weeks against the Commanders and Panthers, Atlanta will be hosting a playoff game, and they might be even hosting the 6 seed if they climb all the way up to the 3 seed spot, since the NFC West is kind of, going back and forth with all those competitive teams there. But let's talk about the turnaround for Atlanta's defense, and specifically the pass rush, because the Falcons themselves put out a really insightful article about detailing what led to the dramatic turnaround. Some shocking stats here. For starters, in the first 11 weeks of the season, they had 10 sacks. Then they have their Week 12 bye. Weeks 13 to 16, 13, 14, 15, 16, 4 games, they've had 16 sacks. They had 10 in the first 11, and they have 16 in the last 4. How did that happen? They didn't get any new guys. And I thought Raheem Morris had a very insightful answer that really hadn't crossed my mind, and it's definitely going to be, a learning lesson for me here as moving forward for what you need to do to fix the pass rush. How about the run defense, which might sound silly at first, but football is a game of alleviating pressure, right? It's all about trying to make everything balanced. And the Falcons website and their writer here, I want to give some credit to, Amanda Subban, put out a really insightful, piece of information, and that is Atlanta's rushing yards per games allowed before their Week 12 bye. 127. Since the bye, the last 4 games, down to 70. So why does that translate to more sacks? Well, if you run the ball on 1st and 10, which most teams do, and you get 1 yard, and you get 2nd and 9, now you're passing, right? And if you're passing on 2nd and 9, you're creating an opportunity for the pass rush to get to the quarterback, because there ain't no sacking a quarterback if he's not dropping back to pass. And if he has to drop back to pass to throw 10 yards because it's a long distance to the first down marker, those receivers have to run that much further. And in a game of inches, right? In a game of milliseconds, right? I don't want to go full Any Given Sunday Al Pacino speech on you here, but when you add up all those inches and all those seconds and everything, it makes a big difference. And so if the quarterback has 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 10 because the run on 1st and 10 didn't go anywhere, well, now the pass rush, which isn't filled with superstar power, is going to have an extra opportunity to pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. And I think that's a big reason why we have seen Atlanta's pass rush completely turn around and put together a 26-sack campaign so far, when they were looking like they were on pace for maybe 17. They weren't even averaging really a sack a game. And now, sure, it's not one of the best pass rushes in football, but over the last month it sure is, and hopefully they can sustain that over the next 2 weeks to kind of alleviate some of the pressure from their rookie quarterback, Michael Penix. But it's been remarkable to see the turnaround on Atlanta's defense, and it's really carried them the last week or so as they just got through the Raiders game, right? Persevered and powered through and found a way to win, but it was still an ugly game altogether, only to be outdone by the Bears-Seahawks game on Thursday night. And then you've had Michael Penix's debut against the Giants, where, hey, Penix, don't worry about putting up a bunch of points today. The defense is going to score 2 touchdowns for you. And Bijan contributed with 2 rushing touchdowns of his own, but it was a nice little sigh of relief for Penix of, whew, I do not have to go out there and throw 3 touchdowns for us to be victorious today. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's video and talk about that Commanders matchup coming up here, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. If you are with your family during the holidays and you're trying to find some maybe alone time or escape from them and whatnot because you're tired of your aunt asking if you have a girlfriend yet, well, download the PrizePicks app today, and all you've got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and then you can earn up to 1,000 times your cash during Pickmas. So the way it works is download the app and then you select 2 to 6 players and just select more or less on their projected stats. And if you go 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for 4, you could be looking at 1,000 times your cash. Now, one of my favorite things about PrizePicks is, let's say you don't go 3 for 3. Let's say you go 2 for 3. You could still make money. That's how PrizePicks is super fun and I think super, user-friendly for someone. So download the PrizePicks app today and use that code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. So let's switch gears just a little bit, but I just want to talk about the Falcons-Commanders matchup. Sunday Night Football, what's at stake for Atlanta? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, win the next 2 games, you are into the postseason. There is no wild card path remaining for Atlanta after the Commanders win over the Eagles. So you can't lose this game and then maybe it's pretty much done. So regardless, ignore that part. It is division or bust. Now, the Buccaneers, they have 2, I'd say tough-ish, not quite, I'm grasping at straws here. They got the Panthers and the Saints. The Panthers are, I think, a decent team right now. Like, they are better than they were at the beginning of the year. I think we're going to look at the Panthers and think bad because they've just been bad, but they're capable of knocking a team off. They've had nothing to play for a while, and despite having nothing to play for, they've gotten better as the weeks have gone on. I mean, most teams, like, you're out of it, you just start thinking about that Cancun trip and, where you're going to be golfing for the next couple of months. But the Panthers have just been getting better and better as the team has been getting, worse and worse from a record standpoint. So I don't think that's going to be a gimmicky win or gimme win for the Buccaneers or Atlanta, who hosts Carolina in Week 18. They also have the Saints to close out the season at home. So home field advantage, of course, and they're going to be hungry after a really strange game entertaining game for sure against the Cowboys on Sunday night when Dallas, who was eliminated from the postseason just a few hours before kickoff, found a way to, dig deep and knock off a Buccaneers team that had plenty to play for. So huge game, playoff implication-wise, coming up for the Falcons, but it's really simple. Win the next 2 games and you are in. If you go 1-1 and the Buccaneers go 2-0, then Tampa Bay is in. If both teams have the same record over the next 2 weeks, then Atlanta's in, right? The Buccaneers simply have to outperform the Falcons over the next 2 weeks. So if Atlanta goes 1-1 and the Buccaneers go 2-0, it's Baker Mayfield and company hosting a playoff game. All right, that will do it for us on our at-home edition of Falcons Today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be back and getting you guys a video before hopefully our watch party on Sunday against the Commanders. So make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're still watching, drop an ATL for me down below.